Chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes. Episode 260. Yes, it is not a 7 after that. For those of you youngins out there. Anyway, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Tally, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way in St. Cloud, Minnesota, at Granite City Studios, Paul Volta Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, there's nothing really more humbling in this world than something that happened probably about 45 minutes ago. So I have the oven turned on to prepare for dinner for the wife and kids. And after a while, the oven's heating up and I start to smell something like, why does it smell like fresh baked cookies? And then all of a sudden I remember on top of the oven, on one of the burners, just so happens to be somebody left a bag of Cocoa Puff cereal, or the knockoff brand, Cocoa Roos or whatever they call them, on top of course, the one burner that leaks heat out of, and melted a hole in the bag and actually melted some of the Cocoa Roos. But at least it didn't smoke. It still smells like chocolate chip cookies. So I guess there are worse things in the world, but always make sure you take the stuff off the hot burny stuff on top, just to be 100% sure.
Just to make sure everything's all right. There's no fires happening. We don't want Granite City Studios on fire.
Thankfully.
Don't want
it. Smells really good in here, though, so that's very
I'll
nice.
Take your word for it. I bet you anybody does. So, yeah, episode 260, Voldy. Before we get started and get into Hot Take and all the other fun stuff we got to get to, Pick'em. Yes, Pick'em was a great week for a lot of people this week, especially our winner. And we better do the whole drum roll thing too. I mean, it's probably a smart idea at this point, especially since we're doing these week to week prizes. Here we go. Tyler Hermann, yes, our guy Tyler Hermann from the Brotherly Ballers podcast wins this bad boy. Yes, the quarter zip. Voldy had our last large ready to roll, so let's go, man. Congrats to Tyler. That'll be sent out to you, and you will enjoy having that with you. So, real quick, leaderboard. Stuffage is leading the way, and he has been dominating these past few weeks. 103-45. He has surpassed over 103 wins for the pickup. But not too far behind is Tyler Hermann.
Wow.
And Wayne Jensen. Hey, look, it's Eric's father coming in hot. And, yours truly right behind him. The shield right there. You got some work to do. You got some work
Still
to do,
in the
but
mix.
you're
Still in the mix.
You're still in the mix. That's all that matters. So we don't need to talk about mine. I'm kind of far down, but it is what it is. Anyway, get those picks in this week. I got to do that after the show. Get those picks in. Make sure that you keep up to date. And again, reminder: keep making those picks for that Zona bundle. You guys are doing a great job, so we appreciate all the love and support that you've been putting. I know some guys have forgotten the Thursday night games, but they have filled the rest of the week out, which is helpful. And not only it would be helpful if you made the pick so you can get an extra point, but, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Get those picks.
Don't forget those tiebreakers, too, people. They come down to it.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's a very good point, Voldy. Get those tiebreakers in. After you make the Monday night pick, make sure you put the total points that's going to happen for each team, okay? So total of let's just say 42, 49, whatever. You put it your way there. So make sure you do that. And tonight we've got a lot to talk about. Mainly talking about those Minnesota Vikings. They lost, unfortunately, to the Baltimore Ravens. I know. A lot to be said. I got to get some things on my chest about this game and the social medias as well. But, Voldy, we got to get caught up with those Minnesota Wild. They are sitting at 7-7-4. Not bad. They went on a streak. They lost last night, but they played all right. They were okay. It's just, San Jose got the better of them. But we will talk about that here in a second. But let's not forget, we do have our special guest, Mitch Riibe. Yes, the Bears fan is up and at 'em again. Yeah, the rematch, Vikings Bears this Sunday. We did a little preview with him on. We got a little preview with him last night, and we brought it into tonight, so you guys can check it out. We talked a lot of Vikings Bears, looking at a lot of what he thinks about the matchup and whatnot. So a lot to be said with him. All right, let's take a look at ARA. We got a stacked ARA tonight. First one. Cleveland pitchers, they've been indicted on pitch rigging. Oh my goodness, a lot to be said with that. It's quite interesting, to say the least. We will talk that. And then we have Briankelly files a suit against LSU after being fired. I mean, it's a crazy deal that's happening with those LSU Tigers. We'll talk about that. And Joe Burrow, will he be back by Thanksgiving? There's a lot to be said about Joe Burrow coming back to the Bengals. Can they make a run? We will see. And USC penalized for a fake jersey swap. We'll get into that as well. And to end things with ARA, our guy, Voldy, Antoniobrown gets 25.
Crazy.
He's a cartoon character, like you said on a previous show. So, and then obviously to end things off, shield shoutouts. Voldy's got some good shield shoutouts tonight. We're looking forward to talking about that as well. So, with that being said, I think it's time to do some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is fresh. It is right out of the oven. And we got to start with those Minnesota Vikings.
Yes, sir.
To say the least,
Yep.
It was an absolute gosh. I mean, the best word to describe it. Let's put it like this, Foldy. It was a gun, foot, shoot right in the foot, and it hurt. It hurt badly, to say the least.
Yep. It did.
It's
Sure did.
I would say at this point, losing 27-19 against the Ravens, 8 false start penalties. That's all. I've been teasing it. I teased it on the socials. I teased it here before the show. But false starts, killing the Minnesota Vikings. Too many pass plays. Justin Jefferson, the effort or something. This is what people were saying. I'll get to that in a second. But the effort, jjmccarthy not being the guy that we think he can be, and everything's going to you-know-what. Let's pump the brakes for a second.
Yep.
Let's just quick analyze this game before we draw any conclusions and overanalyze, what happened. But, Voldy, let's start with you, obviously. Not a great game overall. First drive was fantastic. But what are your thoughts here on the game this past Sunday?
Yeah, it was a combination of two things. Was really the fact that the Vikings shot themselves in the foot, and the Ravens did as much as the bare minimum as possible to win the game and lose the game at the same time. Just amazing to see how that a team that's supposed to have a high-powered offense in the Ravens could really just do the lackadaisical bare minimum. I mean, Lamar threw for 170 yards. Derrick Henry ran for 75 yards, but really came down to winning the turnover battle. On the other side, the Vikings, they did not win the turnover battle. They were unfortunately throwing interceptions from jjmccarthy. Miles Price could not hang on to the ball on kickoff returns. And then just jjmccarthy's passes kept getting batted down. From that point, he kept throwing even higher, where he was overthrowing guys, which led to the interceptions. A comedy of errors it was for the Vikings, and just the Vikings defense did what it was supposed to do for the most part, but just was on the field way, way, way too long, and the Vikings offense couldn't reciprocate. And again, way too many unforced errors on the Vikings side with those false starts, costly penalties offensively beyond the false starts on top of it. The one to Adam Thielen, I believe it was an illegal blindside block that did not win any favors from the officials to Adam Thielen, that's for sure. But yeah, this one was just a real head scratcher from both sides for the Ravens and for the Vikings, because it was not what I needed it to be. And I even said too, even after the game, this was a trap game for the Vikings, especially coming off the high of that win last week against Detroit. You get a win in division, you get jjmccarthy back, and then you get the good old-fashioned bitch slap of reality that is the NFL, much like what we saw in week 1 going into week 2. Now just to be from week 9 into week 10. So here we are sitting at 4-5 on the year.
Yes, we are. And or excuse me, that's the sad part about this whole situation, is that it's unfortunate, to put it quite plainly. I've had a lot of time to think about it, and to be quite frankly, when you're only running the ball 18 times, I know jjmccarthy didn't really have any designed runs per se, but he scrambled. He had 5 carries, 48 yards. You take that off. The Vikings technically only, carried the ball maybe 14, 13 times. I mean, I know that KOC wants to throw the ball. Look, I get it. I understand where he is coming from when it comes down to it. Okay. He wants to run the ball, but I feel like we need, instead of going, I feel like it's 70-30, maybe not even that for the Vikings, because quite frankly, it's not good. when you only run the ball that many times and you have to pass, I mean, JJMcCarthy shouldn't be throwing 42 times in that game. But he was forced into those situations by the fall starts. And that was the biggest problem, was that with the false start here, a false start there, everywhere, anywhere, a false start. I don't know what was happening with the cadence and, things like that. They've talked about it at length in practice these past few days. But it's got to get fixed, and it's got to get fixed real quick. You look at the stats. I mean, the stats tell a completely different story, I feel like. But I do want to address something that I feel like needs to be addressed at this point. I've seen a lot of social medias pertaining to Justin Jefferson. A lot of these said things are saying he's washed. His body language says he doesn't really care. He didn't go out to make the tackle on the interceptions and stuff like that. Listen, I'm coming to tell you guys is that Justin Jefferson had a bad game. That's what happened. Now, when you sit there and say, oh, his body language, see, he just wasn't in it. He just had a bad game. He was targeted 12 times. He dropped a couple of footballs that he's accustomed to catching. And all of a sudden, people are thinking like, oh, he wants out. He doesn't like what McCarthy's doing. He doesn't, he doesn't believe in this team and everything like that. I can't tell you how many times that people overreact to certain things. Now, I'm going to defend him on the one where he tripped and they got the pick and they said, oh, he didn't run after the DB as fast as, he could and everything. Like, he didn't make the tackle. Well, do you want your star player getting hurt trying to tackle that guy?
Exactly.
I think you gotta make sure that you don't hurt yourself. He tripped. Now, is a situation where things happen. It would have been a one-on-one with I think it was Marlon Humphrey, and I would take Jetta's 10 times out of 10. Right? He tripped. He made the pick. He made the play. Whatever. I'm not blaming that on J.J. McCarthy either. Did J.J. McCarthy miss some throws? Yes, he did. It's that simple. But the fact that people are sitting there and saying he doesn't have the work ethic, the drive to want to be good, and it's like, well, you're the best player. You claim to be the best wide receiver in the NFL. You should play like it and everything like that. Look, he was getting mugged all day out there. He was praying and hoping that the refs would make a call. They didn't make a call. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I get it. You have to fight through those things. You have to do that in order to not let it get to your head, right? But good Lord, how many times have I seen Justin Jefferson getting grabbed on his way to try to make a play? And they didn't call it. And I'm not saying that's why they lost or anything like that. But what I am saying is, do not question this man's work ethic. He has had how many straight seasons of 1,000-yard seasons, especially when he got hurt and still had a 1,000-yard season. I know he's only had 2 touchdowns, but look at what he's had to work with so far. J.J. McCarthy, they're trying to get that rapport. I feel like they have it. They just didn't have it that day. So why are we all of a sudden saying, oh, Justin Jefferson isn't going to, he's out. He doesn't want to be here and everything like that. First of all, take a big step back and shut the hell up. Shut up. Because Justin Jefferson, I'm telling you, and I said this with Mitch Voldy, Justin Jefferson's going to have a big game. I bet you any money. Because he probably saw everything that happened, and he's like, won't happen again. I'm going out and I'm balling. I think Justin Jefferson's going to have one hell of a game against the Bears. So that I'm feeling good about that. Don't ever question Justin Jefferson and saying that, he's lackadaisical and everything like that. Jamar Chase has had 1 reception games before. Has anybody had a, off day? Of course. Larry Fitzgerald, Randy Moss, you name it. You can't just go and say, oh, he doesn't got it anymore. He's washed and everything like that. You're idiots. You are idiots. Justin Jefferson is going to be fine. Once they get the rapport that they need with him and JJMcCarthy, I think things will, go from there. Before I move on here, Voldy, the defense, you mentioned it. Defense, I thought, played really well, especially with all the circumstances that happened with the fumbles, not only the fumbles, but interceptions and things like that. They played relatively well, and Blake Cashman, I thought, played a great game.
He did.
11 total tackles, everything, and our guy, the Gangster, had a couple passes knocked down. I thought he was going to go for a pick at one point. It was going to be, awesome. Unfortunately, the Vikings.
I thought so too.
Unfortunately, the Vikings weren't able to, get to Lamar too much. Jonathan Allen had the only sack, but do you see this defense finally getting back to what we were hoping it would be after that whole debacle in LA? What have you seen from the defense these past few games, Voldy, that you really like?
I mean, obviously the big one was last week against Detroit. It's just having all the guys on the field and having consistent pressure from the defensive line was definitely great to see that. Now we kind of take a little bit of a step back just based off of the fact that they were on the field for so long and the offense couldn't reciprocate with that time that the defense needed to adjust to get time as well. But they were able to at least contain a few things enough to keep Lamar from, obviously the big plays downfield. Sure, he hit a couple of shots here and there, and then ultimately, a couple of scores down the back half of the second half for sure, especially that big touchdown towards the end in the fourth quarter was really a nail in the coffin for them. But it just was, nice to see these last couple of games really start to see what this team should have been from the very start, and at least finding what pieces are going to mesh well together, especially the fact that they went out and invested so much in the defensive line, while also bringing back a couple of guys like an Eric Wilson, obviously having Cashman and Van Ginkel back in the lineup the last few weeks together has also been really nice to see too. So just hoping to take what we've seen the last couple of weeks and just build it forward with that time that they do have, at least through the weeks in practice, and at least getting that shared time on the field a little bit more. Because if we've seen anything throughout the year, it's obviously that the injuries have stacked up early, but now as we get further into the season too, and especially right around Thanksgiving is when we're really going to start to see which teams are going to be the serious contenders and which of those are just going to be, biding their time all the way through the end of the regular season.
Yeah, and I think, getting turnovers for this defense has to be a priority now, because these past few games, they had the fumble with Montgomery and everything, but I just want to see a little more with turnovers. Another thing that I saw during this game, and, I think they need to fix this stupid rule. Dallas Turner, poor guy. I mean, good Lord, he makes a nice play. And that damn rule of his body weight went on the QB and everything like that. And look, the NFL needs to change that rule. And it happened in the Detroit game, and actually it went against, Detroit. And I didn't agree with it either, but whatever, that's the rule. The NFL really needs to figure out, hey, that's a football play. That's not. He wasn't trying to get him with ill intent to drive him into the ground. He didn't even get hurt. He got sacked. That's it. So what's the big deal here? So I felt bad for Dallas Turner. I thought it was a ridiculous way to go about this specifically, and disappointing, to say the least. Like we said, the Vikings got the Chicago Bears this weekend on Sunday. We talked about it with Mitch, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. A couple, and another guy who I thought was fantastic, Jalen Naylor. Yes, sir. Let's go. He was fantastic. He had 5 receptions,
Dude.
124 yards, and a tud, baby. Good for him. Good to see that. Let's see the other 2 bring that home a little bit for our Minnesota Vikings. So we talked about that with Mitch, and we're on to Chicago at home. I think JJ is going to have a better game. I know we looked at some of the injury reports. Some guys were limited today, but it doesn't seem like it's anything super serious with some of these guys, including jjmccarthy. So we will talk about that here in just a second. Let's take a look, Voldy, at those Minnesota Wild. Yes, the Wild, I don't really know how to describe it. I mean, would you say average, below average? I mean, these last few games, Voldy, their last 6, their past 6 games, they're 4-2, and before that, they were on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game losing streak, unfortunately. So I asked this of you. Right now, they're sitting, they have 18 points here in the Central Division. 7 wins, 7 losses, 4, and then obviously 4 in OT, losses. Voldy, what are your thoughts here on the Minnesota Wild so far to start things off? What do you got?
Yeah, I think right now with where the Wild sit currently at 7-7-4, I think they're happy just to be at 500 right now, given the fact that this team doesn't really have much of a direction when it comes to where they're going. Are they going to be good? Are they going to be average? Are they going to be below average? I mean, one thing that they have gotten, at least now, having him back, having Zuccarello back in the lineup has been a godsend for sure. For at least Kirill Kaprizov, of course, leading the team in goals, in assists, and points. And he's playing over 22 minutes a game, which is, second on the team. The guy that's leading the way is your top defenseman and Brock Faber. Usually you don't see your top forward, right up there with your top defenseman in minutes played, but that's where the Wild are at currently, and having to play Kirill so much just to get something going. And it just seems that every time that the Wild are in these contests, Kirill has at least 1 or 2 points. I mean, you look at how the math is mathing here, 16 games or make that 18 games in the season. He's over a point per game, and that's where you'd like to see that. Now you would just like to see, of course, some numbers kind of sway back with, like, I don't know, maybe a Jared Spurgeon. What's Jonas Brodin really doing, contributing? But even Jake Middleton has been pretty quiet, but he's more of the, the stay-at-home defenseman type too. The youth movement too, Boldy, Rossi, Z William as well, all double-digit points for them. That's very nice to see, but now they're just kind of at a point here where the schedule has really dictated for them to be where they are at 7-7-4. But, even being at 500 in any other division would probably be at least at the mid to top tier. You're probably in the top third of the division. That's not going to get it done in the Central Division. They're currently tied for 5th right now, and they're only 2 points, 4 points and 2 wins out of the last slot in the West Division. That's how tight this is. I mean, right now they're 9 points out of first place, with Colorado sitting at 11-1-5. And then they have Dallas, Winnipeg, Chicago, and then they're currently tied with Utah, but Utah has 2 more wins over the Wild currently. So this Central Division is as stacked as it can be, but getting wins over like a Vancouver and the Predators is good. But what do we freaking have to do to beat the Sharks? Oh my God. We either win 7-6 or we lose 2-1 in overtime like we do last time. There is no in between. It's just ridiculous. I don't know what we have to do to beat the Sharks. And sadly, it'll probably be a while just based off of these kids that they've got in their lineup with Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, Colin Graff as well had the OT winner the other night too. I mean, they've got all these young kids over there, and these kids are some ballers for sure, and they definitely know how to play. So definitely see the Sharks to be on the up and up here in the next couple of seasons for sure, if not this year. But yeah, it's I don't really know what to make of the team right now. Goaltending has been kind of hot and cold as of late. You can get what you can get with a goaltender for sure. With Philip Gustafson, Wallstead as well had the shutout the other night in Calgary, but losing some tough ones against, like, again, San Jose, you lost to the Carolina Hurricanes too, dropped a couple there. Of course, you lose to Winnipeg and the Penguins here a couple weeks ago, but you just need to start stringing more things together. And I think now with Zuccarello back in the lineup here, he's only played 3 games to start the year, but when he's been in the lineup, they have been pretty fun to watch, him setting up Kaprizov, and on the other side too, there's been a few highlight goals out of him so far. So I hope as having him back in the lineup too, things will start to progress there forward here for the Wild here in the next couple of weeks.
That's the hope, right? I think
that is the hope. Yep.
There is the expectations for this team are sky high. Like this has to be a team that is going to somewhat be in the mix. That being the playoffs and whatnot, because it's been too long, right? But yeah, like you said, it's just those teams that you just can't. And the Sharks, you can't describe, like you can't get over that hump. Not only that, but I feel like the Stars have been a team that they've really struggled against these past few years. The Jets, Penguins are another one. I mean, I know they're not in the same division, but still, I mean, they just really haven't had a whole lot of luck against those teams. So, yeah, I look at it, and like you said, Voldy, Kaprizov playing a lot better. He's leading the team with goals and points and everything like that. But it comes down to them putting it all together against this tough conference, not only the conference but the division. But we got to see a little bit more. We got to see some consistency. We got to see some improvement, obviously, but it's still very early. We want to give them the benefit of the doubt here as well. So, yeah, I will keep an eye out. They play the Ducks, I think I saw, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And that's not going to be easy either. The Ducks have been sneakily good this year too.
And that is at home, thankfully. That is on Saturday, and then they got Vegas.
5:00. Interesting.
Yeah, well, I guess that's not super surprising on a Saturday, but yeah, it's still kind of like, oh, wow. 5
Yeah, but the long layover that we have, I mean, we played last night, and then we've got tonight, Thursday, Friday off, and then, right back at it at home. I guess that's probably an accompaniment of something, too, because I know they had the state volleyball tournament last weekend, so I guess there's that, too. But, yeah, I guess maybe a little bit of time off the ice will certainly help the team. So, yeah, but again, the Ducks are not the Ducks that we saw the last couple of years. They've definitely got some new faces in that lineup, too, and a couple of young kids there that are definitely worth watching, too. So this will definitely be a tough contest, too.
Well, let's get on that run. Let's get rolling here and whatnot. And, like we said, anything else pops up, we will be the first to let you know with those Minnesota Wild. So, with that being said, that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. Like we said, we're talking with Mitch Riibe. And before we get into that, apologies for my microphone is not working. It might be on the outs here, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. This thing is just, it's not registering something. But I'll try to get it fixed here as we play. Yeah, exactly. Play you our recording with Mitch Riibe. So you guys enjoy, and we'll be back, and we'll do some ARA coming up. So enjoy. Yes, and welcome back to MinneZona Sports Live. We have a special guest. We had to bring him back on just because, it's Vikings Bears week. He's feeling good about the victory this past Sunday with those darn Giants and Bears and Caleb Williams doing awesome things and whatnot, which is not great for us. But yeah, it's Mitch is feeling
I'm a little
himself a little
chilly,
bit.
Matt.
Yeah,
I'm a little chilly.
little
'Cause you know
chilly.
why?
It was cold out.
Caleb Williams got ice in his veins. He's got his ice in his veins.
In his veins.
That's why.
Yeah, well,
Ew.
we'll see what happens come
he's-
with you a spank. Well, we'll see. I mean, if he can do it against these bad teams, let's see him do it against a halfway decent team. That being the Minnesota Vikings, we shall see. We'll get into that in a second. Mitch, welcome back as always.
We beat Washington with Jake Daniels.
Yeah, that's true.
We beat
That's
Jake
true.
Daniels, so I'll say that much.
Fair enough. All right, so let's get your thoughts on the Bears just for kind of the whole season. And what are your thoughts so far? 6-3. Caleb's playing a lot better. Offense looks pretty doggone good. Defense has been making some plays too. What are your thoughts on your Bears, Mitch? What do you got?
Overall good. I mean, it's kind of what I expected, rocky start, new head coach trying to figure out what he's got in quarterback and where he can marriage his offensive schemes with, the talent that's in Chicago. So, and I think at this point, halfway through the season, I think Ben Johnson has finally hit out the stride for the Bears and being able to do his offensive guru stuff. So I'm loving how we've looked so far this year. I mean, like I said, season was a rough start. Dropped a tough one against the Vikes week 1. We have to take advantage of jjmccarthy playing bad for 3 quarters. We can't let him do to us what we've been doing to other teams the past couple weeks. So that was a bad, tough loss. And then we go in and get just curb stomped by Detroit, which, now it doesn't look too bad just because they're curb stomping everybody. So,
Well,
yeah.
Not our Vikings. Even though we lost this past week. That's neither here nor there. There's neither here nor there. I got a video after that Vikings Bears game that your friend Nick Dahlhoff sent to me. And he thought, here we go again, another season of turmoil and just disappointment. So, my question to you is, how would you assess so far what Ben Johnson has done, kind of more specifically, differently with the offense and whatnot? So what are your thoughts on Ben Johnson so far?
I've seen a couple times this year his creative play calling. Obviously, having DJ Moore throw a touchdown pass to Caleb Williams. Don't see that every year. Don't see that every week. It's pretty uncommon. So that was always exciting to see when your quarterback can get a passing touchdown on the season, or a receiving touchdown on the season. So what I think really speaks to Ben Johnson's capabilities and his what he's done with this team is twofold. First being the run game, specifically with the offensive line and bolstering that in the offseason, and it's paid dividends. You go out and sign a guy like Joe Thuney and you just get really worried that he's a little older. Kansas City let him go, didn't want to pay him. Kansas City's always about 3 steps ahead, but on this one I think we nailed it in getting that offensive line hole filled, and Thuney's been excellent for Chicago protecting Caleb. And then also just the culture flip he's been able to do these 8 weeks and in the off season as well. But it's, people the Bears got a lot of flack in the off season for whether it be Caleb missing net throws or, Johnson just laying into everybody and yelling at him. But I think the guys actually took to it really, really well. And now you're seeing those dividends pay out in that you know, the if you've ever seen a post game win in in the Chicago Bears locker room, it's electric. It's one of the best, and it gets me fired up every time they do the good, better, best speech. It's just it just gives you goosebumps. It makes you believe that we're there's a shift in the wind in Chicago.
Was that like pun intended? I mean, I just kind of just Windy City, the whole, Yeah,
Absolutely,
it's very
absolutely.
good. Well put, well put. Voldy, so I asked this of you. What are your thoughts on Ben Johnson so far and the job he's done with the Bears?
Just kind of the same sentiments that Ribby threw out there. Of course, just trying to find the right pieces and how they are going to fit the system that he's brought in, but also at the same time, knowing what pieces you have and how you can adjust your system to the players that you do have. Of course, the emergence of Roma Dunze this season has been really interesting to see for them, kind of jumping out as their number one receiver after the year, of course, a year removed when they had, of course, Keenan Allen, that failed experiment as a whole, but just really overall, I mean, DJ Moore, of course, when he's been healthy and in the lineup, he's been definitely very consistent, at least getting the touches to him. And also, last couple of games, the emergence of Colston Loveland has also been something that they've been looking at to at least trying to establish him a little bit more frequently in that tight end, of course, in the tight end pattern too. A lot of young pieces that they do have, just trying to get them established in more reps. Things have been unfortunately turning around here for the Bears as of late and starting to be just a little bit more competitive on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the stats, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mitch, but I would say that Roman Adunze has overtaken DJ Moore already, wouldn't you say, as wide receiver one?
Yeah, I would say that. And I mean, like, are we surprised because Rome was the receiver Caleb wanted in the same draft class? He was
Right.
tweeting about it. Um, you know, knowing that Caleb's kind of our franchise guy, if that's something that we can help him out with, I think Rome's emerging as that young wide receiver one that we not that DJ Moore isn't capable of that, but
Right.
I think their connection is way better.
Yeah, and
And
yeah,
I I I don't see a negative in that, right? Having a quarterback wide receiver connection, that's never a bad thing on a roster, no
right.
matter who, what wide receiver position they're in. As long as it works, it works. And I don't think DJ Moore is the type of character guy to be upset about a being wide receiver 2 on the depth chart for Chicago. As long as the team's winning and the culture's changed, getting Flues out of there, making, you know, the culture's always better when the wins are coming in, obviously. And I think DJ Moore would rather be on a winning team than being the number one receiver.
So we talked a lot about the positives with this team. What are a couple concerns that you have going forward here about this team? Do you think that they can kind of keep this momentum going throughout the rest of the season here? And is there anything that you're just kind of like, I'm kind of uneasy about this? Anything with defense, offense? What do you got?
Something that's really concerning, and it's built throughout the last 8 weeks, is just injuries on our secondary. We just have had a lot of key positions within the secondary go down, and you can really see that going up against Cincinnati. We allowed them to score 42 points. Like that just can't happen. And I mean, our defense, besides the secondary issues, I think have been really great about getting takeaways. However, we can't be a defense that relies on takeaways. Like, if we're winning games because of the takeaways and solely because of the takeaways, that's not playoff level football. Like, you have to be able to win it on offense and have our defense being fresh and ready to pin our ears back and get after the quarterback on the other side of the ball. And we can't be a lot. Not that Caleb Williams or Monungai or Swift is turning the ball over, but we can't go 3-and-outs. That's one of the things sometimes early in the game. after we've gone off script, but we haven't hit that fourth quarter mark where Caleb just really turns it on. We seem to can't get out of second gear. It seems like.
Voldy, what are your? Do you have any concerns regarding the Bears? What do you got?
I think one thing that we've kind of seen as the season's kind of come along here, I'm just looking at numbers strictly. Of course, we saw anything a couple weeks ago was the defensive side of things. Of course, leading tackler on the defense is, Tremaine Edmonds. He's got 80 tackles, but from that point, there is a steep drop off in a tackling. Of course, the next closest almost has half as many tackles, and that's from Kevin Byard, who's the safety, and then you got Jaquan Brisker, also a safety. The fact that you've got, defensive backs in the top 8 as your leading tacklers, I would say, is a little bit interesting just based off of, numbers alone. That means that some guys are making plays at the second level on the offensive side of the ball, where you see a lot of pressure from the inside not getting home and at least allowing a lot of maybe some bigger plays or extended plays too. So if anything, something of note there with the Bears matchup is that, some guys are getting through that first level on the offensive side, while the defense has to try and hold stout with at least trying to get, limit some of those big plays down the field.
Going into this game against the Vikings, are you, it's at home for the Vikings, a little bit of an advantage. The Vikings have had the Bears number for a couple seasons now. Caleb has, was effective last year at Chicago. He did a good job of, extending those plays, and he ran it well against the Vikings the first game of the season and whatnot. What are your keys for the Bears? Give me a couple things, keys to a Bears win against the Vikings on Sunday. What do you got, Mitch?
I'd say first key, we need to make sure that we keep the pressure on McCarthy, because that's really the key to your guys' whole offensive success. If McCarthy is on it, and when he's on it, he's on it. Like, I'll give him that. When he can dial it in and be 9, he's on fire. He's got the stuff, but it's just getting him to that point. It has proven difficult for the Vikings. So as long as we keep, can get guys home and get him, in his face and make him feel like he's got to throw in a double coverage to Jefferson to just make that 50-50 ball catch, I think that's where we can really take advantage of that. And just also making sure we're doing this little stuff right, like not getting false starts or not being in the neutral zone, not because we've been guilty of that too on both sides of our ball, is defense and offense. We sometimes allow for silly rookie penalties that we shouldn't be allowing. And I think going into Sunday, I think a lot of that is and I'm sure the Vikings are cleaning it up this week, but I feel
we hope so.
The two things that we need to do, the two things we need to do is make sure we're not we're not getting penalized, and we're getting to JJ.McCarthy, because Jefferson, just last week against the Ravens, it was not good. It was not good.
I agree. Yeah,
and I'm not trying to crap on the Vikings here, but I know. Yeah. It's just. They kind of gave the NFL the game plan to kind of like uprooting McCarthy and being like, you can't make silly mistakes. This isn't Michigan versus Rutgers anymore. This is NFL ball.
You make a good point. So. You do. The main thing I feel like with the whole Jefferson situation, I feel like the Ravens' game plan was to mug him, literally, and it wasn't called. They got him frustrated. I think, and I'm not trying to crap on the Bears for your for your pleasure here, but the Justin Jefferson, I think, is going to have a big game against Chicago, and I think he, being locked up, like, he's going to find ways to get open. We're going to find, Addison, I feel like, has had a couple of good games now against the Bears, And I think those two could have, big games. And the question is, are the Bears going to be ready for that? And also running the ball, I think, has been an issue as well for the Vikings. But I agree. I mean, if you get pressure, inexperienced quarterback like, McCarthy, he's only played 4 games. This is his 5th start, right? And people are already making their minds up about the kid. And it's like, good Lord, let the kid play. For goodness sake, let him get some experience. And it just, it's frustrating from the Vikings side.
I was going to say, five games into our losing streak, it was Caleb Williams is a terrible quarterback. We should have went with Jaden Daniels. That's all I heard last year.
That's right. See, it all correlates at some point here. So, that's kind of how we, talk about that. But it should be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. We won't ask you to make a prediction or anything like that. But last time you were on this show, Mitch, we talked about our NFC, who's going to win the NFC North. Now, this is your chance to either, just say, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough to overtake the Lions, and even though the Packers are really sucking right now, which is great for both of us. I mean, for both teams at this point. Are you still sticking with the Bears winning the NFC North? Or are you saying, you know what, I'm going to take that back. I don't want to get absurd statement, 2025. What do you got?
Sticking with it. NFC North champs, baby. 2025. I want to see Voldy go across that ice rink in a Speedo swimsuit, whatever. God. I want to see it.
More on that in a little bit. We'll save that, right, Voldy? We gotta get to.
Yeah, you would.
Exactly. We'll get to that in a second. All right. Well, that's your chance, Mitch. All right. We'll see how it pans out. But if it's right, you might get most approved statement. Who knows? We'll see what happens. All right. I think it's that time. It's time to go with some rapid fire of oldie.
All right. So we got to address the elephant in the room here, Riibe. With the Chicago Bears and their franchise have not had a 4,000-yard passer in the entirety of their, franchise as a whole. Does Caleb Williams, sitting at 2,100 yards this season, does he get to 4,000 by the end of the year?
Yes, he does. This is the year.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Who ends up with more receiving touchdowns by the end of the season? Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, or Caleb Williams?
More receiving touchdowns?
Yes.
More receiving touchdowns. Loveland's got 2. I think DJ Moore's got 1, and then Caleb Williams also has 1 receiving touchdown. So who ends up with more by the end of the season?
Oh, I probably would have to give it to Loveland. Ben Johnson likes his tight ends, and he picked Loveland over Warren. And of course, I think DJ Moore is more going to be the yards getting us first down type of guy, because Rome is our big play receiver. As much as I'd love to have DJ Moore be that guy, he's just not that for us anymore. And I don't think he's, like I said earlier, I don't think he's upset like that about that. But if it's between Moore and Loveland, I think Loveland's going to get more looks in the end zone from Johnson than DJ Moore will in Johnson's offensive scheme. So.
Okay. Now, we've seen a few times he's been pretty close. Devin Duvernay in the return game. Does he get a return touchdown this season? If so, is it a kickoff or a punt return?
Those are so hard to get nowadays, especially with the new kickoff rules. So I don't see it happening. Maybe next year, Duvernay, he unlocks his Devin Hester vault that's buried way underneath Hallis Hall, but he hasn't gotten the keys yet. He hasn't proven enough yet to get those keys. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Right now, Montez Sweat is at 5.5 sacks on the season. Does he get to double-digit sacks? And if so, where does he finish with sack total this year?
man.
It's gonna take a second.
My gut's telling me he doesn't get to double digits this season. I feel like he's gonna hit that 8 or 9 mark, and he's just not gonna quite get there. Because I actually made a preseason parlay bet.
Yeah, right. Right.
Oh God.
Well,
God. All right.
I parlayed him for 6 1/4,
Right.
so he'll get there. He'll get there.
Yeah, you did.
I don't see him getting double
Interesting.
digits.
Okay. All right. It'll at least cover the spread there. 6-3 right now on the season. Over under. I know you threw out there a little bit of gambling at us. Over under 10.5 wins on the season to finish off.
Gonna have to. If they win. NFC North.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I got to take the over on that. It's going to
Can't
be
bow
tough.
out now,
It's
Mitch.
gonna be a
Can't
lot of
bow
close
out
games.
now.
Yeah.
Final question. If the Bears,
No,
and this is
it's
a
just a
huge
lot of-
if the Bears win the NFC North, will you be paying for the Speedo for me to streak in the ice rink?
It's a good point.
Do I get to pick the Speedo no matter what if I'm paying for it?
You know what? If you're paying for it, I'll let you pick it. How about that?
There we go. Then absolutely. This is an absolute win.
All right, there we go. I like that. I like it. Yeah, nobody's going to want to see that, unfortunately. Except Mitch, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
We
I don't
bask in
think-
other people's misery. We're Bears fans.
Yeah, we're used to it too. Trust me. If Green Bay plays the way that they've been playing, they ain't gonna amount to much. That's for sure. And Jordan Love has, he might be regressing. We don't know. It all could, fall apart here for Green Bay. So, all right. Well, Mitch, we appreciate you hopping on with us tonight, and best of luck on Sunday, honestly. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a close game. And obviously, I know you're taking the Bears. And, quite frankly, I'm going to be a homer. Yeah, and I assume Voldy, you will be too. We'll take the Vikings in a close one.
Oh, yeah.
I think 9 comes out a little bit and plays well. And I think Caleb's going to do the same. And, the Bears are going to be – it's going to be a tough battle. It's going to be a tough battle. So, Mitch, thanks for hopping on.
It's definitely going to come down to the end of the game.
Yeah. I think I really do believe that. Especially, it's probably going to be a field goal. It's going to come down to a field goal. Both teams are going to be vying for that. Vying for that win. They both need it. I mean, honestly. At this point in the season, it's must win from here on out.
Yeah.
So, Mitch, thanks for hopping on, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for having me on.
You know it.
Peace.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Yes, Mitch is he's got a good feeling about those Bears. He got a good feeling about those Bears this week.
He does, yes.
It's going to be – I think it's going to be a close game. Like we said, it's going to be a close game. But I think the Vikings overcome the odds and finally get a win to remain in playoff contention. They have to for our sake, for our bold predictions' sake as well. So, we'll see. All right. ARA, we've got the Cleveland pitchers in some big trouble. Rigging games, bets, things like that. We'll talk about it. Briankelly filing a lawsuit against LSU. We got to discuss that. It's a lot of money. And Burrow is back. He is practicing. Will he be back by Thanksgiving? We will discuss. USC penalized for fake jersey swap. More to be said on that. And then to end things off, Clowntonio back in the news again, not for good reason. I mean, we're used to it at this point. We will discuss that whole ordeal as well. So let's get it going. Let's have approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's that time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start off in the world of Major League Baseball as early this week, late last week, word has come down that Cleveland Guardian pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz were charged with fraud, conspiracy, and bribery stemming from an alleged scheme to rig individual pitches that led to gamblers winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to indictments that were presented by federal prosecutors this week. Now, word has come out over the last couple of years, especially this past season when Clase was put on the restricted list by Major League Baseball, at least for investigations relating to said wire fraud as well. But both of those pitchers could face up to 20 years in prison for wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for honest services wire fraud conspiracy, and 20 years for money laundering conspiracy, and 5 years for conspiracy for influencing sporting events by bribery. Now, for those keeping score at home, that would be a total of 65 years if those indictments do come down. Now, of course, over the years, and especially recently with the rise in sports gambling in all professional sports, especially in the world of baseball, surprised that it's taken this long for something like this to finally come down, but now starting to see where it is coming to a head here. Is it absurd or approved, with these players looking to be the first of the mainstays as well in the world of sports rigging as well in baseball? Is it absurd or approved? Will more players be indicted on rigging games in the near future?
Well, I wouldn't rule it out. It sounds to me that there's a lot of questions about this whole thing, especially with the whole investigation in regards to the mafia with the NBA, as well as, the MLB. And I think these Cleveland pitchers, quote unquote, got greedy. And quite frankly, they wanted to, the extra dough and everything like that. They should be ashamed of themselves, because that doesn't make it fun for anybody. And, it's kind of similar, not saying it's the same thing or anything like that, two different things, but it's kind of like a bounty program, right? If they tell you to throw, if you throw a ball, at this point in the game, we'll give you $250K. Obviously, they probably wouldn't do that much, but I'm just throwing something out. But that's ridiculous. You can't rig these games, and just because you want some extra dough in your hand. Now, if you want to make extra money, you gotta play well, right? You can't. You gotta help your team win and everything like that. So these guys should be ashamed of themselves, especially that it is in the division for the Minnesota Twins as well. If you're rigging pitches and you're facing some lengthy time in prison, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You should probably come clean, and maybe they'll have some mercy on you, because that's why when we sit back and there's probably things we don't even know about that is going on behind the scenes. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but this is not a good look for the MLB at this point. So yeah, I will say, Voldy, it's got my stamp of approval. I mean, I think more of these guys are going to be indicted and get in trouble. Now, to what extent did they do this? Where's the proof? Innocent until proven guilty, the whole deal. But the fact that they're indicted tells me there's some things here with this whole thing. So, yeah, I would give it my stamp of approval. I think there's going to be more, and it might be eye-opening to see who else is involved. So,
Right.
Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, definitely. Those pitchers, as you said, getting greedy is definitely one way to put it for sure. And, there had always been kind of rumors or just kind of certain things, especially with Clase, the way he was kind of shut down the last couple of years. And now the last season plus, he'd been very, very sketchy, and at least certain things that just seemed like he was maybe trying to throw certain pitches as balls as opposed to going out there and at least, trying to throw strikes, where he was a setup man and also closer for Cleveland at one point, and then things kind of deteriorated from that point. But getting kickbacks as well for helping gamblers in their wagering and also specifically on pitches. Again, the fact that you can wager on pitches as a whole in baseball betting as well seems very, very specific, as opposed to whether a team's going to lose or not, or at least cover the spread. Very, how much further do we need to get specific with, with when it comes to gambling too? And the fact that it's something as minuscule as that can be tampered with in a professional sport. Who knows how high up it goes to, like, hey, we need you to lose this game, or hey, we need you to not get a hit for 3 weeks or something like that. It wouldn't surprise me if something like that would happen. But yeah, I think these guys are going to be the first ones. Obviously, they are going to be, the focal point of, like, this is what happened, and if you do it, we're going to, throw the book at you, be the letter of the law here, and throw whatever rules and regulations there are at you to make an example out of you. So yeah, I think more might be coming down here for sure. Just the way that sports gambling has taken over the world here in the last handful of years too.
It's crazy to me. Like, I feel like more of this is going on and makes me concerned for, many other people as well, especially the legitimacy of these games as well. I mean, come on. It's just getting nuts out there, man. It's just crazy. So, all right. But we're going to stick with lawsuits and people getting in trouble. And, yeah, next one, Foldy.
Well, this one coming in the world of college football, where former LSU football coach Briankelly is filing suit against LSU's Board of Supervisors, saying that the position that LSU has taken is not, quote, formally terminated Kelly as head coach for the LSU Tigers. Of course, this stemming from a couple of weeks ago after a sad performance against, for LSU head coach Briankelly, and of course for the LSU Tigers, which led to his dismissal as head coach. The school, according to the petition for the judgment, is now seeking to fire Kelly for cause and potentially avoid paying the full buyout of nearly $54 million. The filing claims that LSU informed Kelly's representatives of his position earlier this week. So basically, it's breaking down to saying LSU is saying that they're firing him because for cause, as opposed to, in the sake that, look, you aren't getting the job done, so we're going to let you go and avoid paying out the full buyout, nearly $54 million. Well, Briankelly said, well, according to my contract, it says if I get fired, regardless of cause, I'm getting the $54 million. Now, of course, with these high buyouts that we've seen out of these coaches in college football, and of course, stemming from, of course, the now governor of Louisiana getting involved, saying that LSU is like, hey, we're not going to pay the million. It's just going to fall back to the school system, if you will, for colleges and universities in the state of Louisiana, which still happens to be a part of of the government for Louisiana. The governor's like, whoa, we didn't make a contract with the head coach. LSU made a contract with the coach. We're not liable for the buyout of nearly $54 million from the state. With it being all of that thrown into it with LSU's poor performance the last handful of seasons under the tenure of Brian Kelly, is it absurd or prove Brian Kelly will get his full $54 million out of LSU with the buyout?
Oofda. A lot of money. Money. Voldy, have you ever, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen The Office by chance? Have you seen a lot of episodes?
Sadly, yes. I've seen a few episodes here and there, yes.
There's this one scene with Michael Scott. And, obviously Michael Scott and Toby, the HR guy, go at it. Or more like Michael Scott doesn't like him. And Michael Scott's on the phone with his boss, and he says, he goes, can we fire him? Not without cause, Michael. I have cause. It's cause I hate him. I feel like that's what LSU
I do know that one
is doing with Brian Kelly here. I just every time I'm looking,
I thought you were going to go
this.
the route here of Michael Scott. Yeah. I thought you were going to go the route of Michael Scott on the phone. It's like, it was my understanding that I was going to be in charge or something like that. It's like, what made you think that? It was my understanding, like Brian Kelly saying, it was my understanding I was going to get my $54 million. And LSU was like, what made you think that? It was my understanding. Also a good one, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, gosh, there's a lot you can reference it to, and it's perfect. I think it fits in perfectly with the situation. Now, to the situation at hand here. The whole situation, I feel like, with this is he was fired due to the team's performance, and then obviously whatever was going on with the governor's office and everything like that. It's just a big old mess. So the for cause, and I'm looking at this right now, and it says, in his contract, it says a clause that allows his firing due to material and substantial NCAA rule violations, being convicted of a felony or any crime involving gambling, drugs, or alcohol, or engaging in serious misconduct which either displays a continual or serious disrespect for the mission of LSU, or constitutes moral turpitude or whatever it says. I don't know. The termination was due to the team's performance, and I think that they're held to a high standard in the SEC. It's either you win or you're gone. It's that simple. Now, did LSU go about it the right way? It doesn't seem to me like they checked all the boxes with firing him. Hence why I think that's why there is a lawsuit, with this, and it makes sense from that point. I got a feeling they're going to fight this, and they're going to try and, win this, that being LSU. Not saying that Kelly isn't at this point, but I think he poses a strong argument. I think LSU and whoever was involved with that, I mean, it's the university. It shouldn't have the governor's office come in and decide who should be coach. That's ridiculous. So I think he has a strong case here, and I think LSU is going to struggle to try and not have to do that. But knowing how fighting the law, that song, I fought the law and the law won. I got a feeling this is what's going to happen with Brian Kelly. So I would say, to answer your question here, Voldy, I think it's absurd. I don't think he's going to get it. I think they're going to find some loophole, and they're going to be able to exploit it. Brian Kelly, I wasn't really a fan of as a coach anyway. Very cringy, like we've said before, with his firing. But I don't think he's going to. He's got enough money, to be quite honest. But you just want some more. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I feel like this is a situation, even with the poor performance that LSU and, of course, Brian Kelly did have there in his time down in Baton Rouge. I feel like he's still going to get his money. I think it's got my stamp of approval. The fact that you have the governor's office barking up the tree of LSU, and of course the athletic director who's already in some hot water with the board of supervisors too. I feel like they'll definitely find a way to maybe let cooler heads prevail and make sure that Brian Kelly is well compensated. I don't know if the full $54 million, but I know there were some numbers being bounced around, 25 to 30, maybe in a couple of different installments as well. But I feel like he's going to be compensated for his time for sure. LSU is definitely going to have to pay the money that they said that they were going to, but in full, I doubt that's going to be happening. But it's definitely got my stamp of approval. He will be getting paid one way or another.
Money, 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 money. Straight cash, homie, as we say here. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, heading to the world of the NFL, it is now looking like that Joe Burrow, coming off the severity of a turf toe injury early on the season, is aiming to come back by Thanksgiving, just a couple of weeks away, as the Ravens will be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals on Thanksgiving. That will be the primetime matchup on Thursday night. But opening up that 21-day practice window for Joe Burrow, coming off the turf toe injury and also the procedure that went along with it, saying that Burrow said on Monday that it will be very meaningful if he can return from the injury on his left foot for Thanksgiving against them. Of course, the injury-riddled career that Joe Burrow's had in his short tenure in the NFL, but hoping that he can make it back from the injured reserve and also be productive enough to be a consistent enough player. Of course, looking at the rest of the season ahead with the Bengals, treading waters, probably putting it in a best case scenario for them, even though they are not at 3 of 6, losing 5 of the last 6 games, including a very, very bad loss against the Chicago Bears a couple weeks ago, of which that was very notable, despite the fact that they made the trade for Joe Flacco to be the starter in the meantime. But now with Burrow back in practice and aiming for Thanksgiving coming up here in less than 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, I should say, 2 weeks from tomorrow, is it absurd or approved? When Burrow does come back, and I'm going to use the colorful language that I use, will Joe Burrow be able to pull the Bengals out of the shitter from 3 and 6?
Can he play defense? Is that
Nope.
possible? See, that's the problem. I said it from the beginning. And we said it from the beginning. Them putting all of that money into not only Joe Burrow, which rightfully so, I mean, it makes sense for this point, franchise quarterback, paying Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson has put this team in cap hell. They take up at least 75% of the whole cap space with the Cincinnati Bengals. The defense has been historically bad. Players have called the defense out. Offensive players have called the defense out. It is not a positive setting in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow can come back, but can Joe Burrow put up enough points? I think he could, but that defense has got to make some stops, man. I mean, that game against Chicago, like you just said, Voldy, that was awful. They don't know how to tackle, apparently. If they made that tackle on Loveland, they could possibly win that game. It comes to a point of them figuring it out. They have to get stops. They will not win anywhere if they can't get stops, and they can't seem to do that right now. But Joe Burrow is he going to be ready when he comes back? I think he'll be ready to go for sure. I think he's going to, play well, but I think if you're the Cincinnati, the deadline's passed and you can't really add anybody besides maybe free agents, but you don't want to bring in a new guy that doesn't really know what's going on. I think if you're Zach Taylor, you go to the defensive coordinator, you go to any of the defensive assistants, anyone, and say, listen, we need to figure out a way to not have this happen. Trey Hendrickson's been in and out of the lineup. Who do you have after him? Not many people, right? So I would say I don't think he will be able to pull them out of the shitter. I think it's too insurmountable. I think it's absurd. I don't doubt the talent of Joe Burrow. I doubt the talent of that terrible defense that they have. I mean, it's historically bad. I mean, it's right there with the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been atrocious as well. But yeah, I don't think Joe can pull them out of this. If Flacco certainly can't. I think it's too insurmountable. They need to add some defensive guys this offseason somehow, some way. So, absurd.
Right.
Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, it's very interesting how the season has really turned about. Of course, the Bengals coming into the year, of course, notoriously known for slow starts, but they started off 2-0, and then Joe Burrow gets hurt, and then lo and behold, it all goes down from that point, losing 5 of 6. You trade for Joe Flacco, who's been putting up great numbers, but the defense is also giving up great numbers on the other side of the ball. I think at 3-6, if Joe Flacco came back this week, I would say I think they've got a legitimate shot. But if they lose this week, they lose next week, and then you've got Thursday night, Thanksgiving night football. I don't know if you even start Joe Flacco. I should say start Joe Burrow at that point. Man, too many cool Joes on the in the Bengals quarterback room now. That's going to be hard to put out there. But I think that you definitely don't put him in a position to do worse than what has already happened. So at 3-6, if they end up, if they're 2-0 these next 2 weeks and they're 5-6 and Burrow's 100% ready to go, I would say yes, throw them in there. But if they go 1-1, they go 0-2, I say, you know what? Season's a wash. We'll see you next season, or at least, give it a couple more weeks. Let that foot, let that toe fully heal. Maybe you start him the last, 4 or 5 weeks of the season or something like that. Just let him get 100% for sure. Well, at least the last 3 weeks for sure. So at least he can have something going into the end of the season. But pulling them out of the shitter right now as it currently stands, I'm going to say no. Sadly, I think for Burrow and the Bengals, like you had said, you spent so much on offense, you forgot to take care of the defense. We already knew how much craziness the defense was seeing with everything that was going on with their rookie defensive end and Trey Hendrickson, too, of just getting them to show up and getting them to play, too. Of course, both of them have been in the lineup the season as a whole, but you know what? Nothing's looking good at the end of this year because of the craziness that is in that front office and just non-committing, awareness of that front office to the defensive side, and at least trying to be a better team as a whole. So I think it's absurd. I don't think Burrow's going to be able to do much if and when he does come back.
Yeah, I think, okay, fantasy football wise, start whoever you have. Any opposing team against the Bengals defense, start whoever you got. All right? They lost to the Jets. They have been inept. Fields, I think, threw for 34 yards this past week.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. So, yeah, not good. All right, next one, Voldy.
Entering the world of college football, an interesting play that took place over the weekend in a in a stalwart Big Ten matchup between Northwestern and USC. Now, there was a play early in the second quarter when USC faced 4th and 6 and lined up in punt formation. It happened when reserve quarterback Sam Heward, the team's third-string quarterback, took the field wearing the number 80. Odd for a third-string quarterback to wear a double-digit number that is the number 80, which also happens to be the same number as primary punter Sam Johnson. Now, and he positioned himself, that being Heward, as the player himself that at the punting position. He took the long snap and completed a 10-yard pass to a receiver, and they would go on to score a touchdown, take a 14-7 lead, and eventually USC did win over Northwestern 38-17. Now, both Heward and Johnson were listed on the game day roster as number 80, but Heward appears as number 7 in the team's online roster and also happened to be in the same number of 7 in the game notes for the Northwestern contest. Now, most colleges, of course, they do have multiple players with the same jersey number, but do play on different sides of the ball, offense, defense. Of course, they've got 300 kids on the sideline. There's going to be some overlap in numbers. Of course, USC doesn't have names on the back of the uniforms as well, so that also does help. Now, according to the Big Ten, that they said that USC should have been penalized for such play with Heward lining up as the punter and, of course, throwing, wearing the number 80 as well. This follows under the NCAA rule under the unfair tactics that reads, 2 players playing the same position may not wear the same number during the game. If a foul was identified when number 80, Johnson, entered the game as a punter, a team unsportsmanlike conduct penalty would have been assessed, resulting in a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. The Big Ten will continue to review the situation with both institutions. Now, Northwestern coach David Braun took full responsibility for the play, saying USC, quote, did legally submit that, saying that they were both going to be wearing the same number, and, quote, it 100% falls on me, not making aware that Johnson and Heward aren't the same person, even though wearing the same number. Now, of course, we've seen a lot of trickery and observations as well with just trying to get one leg up on the opposing team. Of course, fake punts is definitely a lost art form for sure. But is it absurd or approved that USC should have been penalized for the fake punt play based off of Heward wearing a different number, even though it was on the game day roster, but different online? Is that absurd or approved?
Well, honestly, I think I'd put it on the Big Ten for not figuring that out, because they said they're like, oh, they got to pay for that. That's not the right tactic. It's like, well, if USC did the right thing, then what's the problem here, right? I mean, they did what they were supposed to and said, hey, they got the same number, different people, and especially if the Northwestern coach looks at it from that perspective as well. Now, does it make it unfair? Maybe somewhat, because sometimes, there's a lot of guys on the football team for sure, and they looked at that rule and they said, well, 2 players playing the same position may not wear the same number during the game. Why didn't they figure that out earlier when they were playing, right? And I think, you have to be ready for anything as a football player, as a coach and whatnot. But, I mean, if they did it the right way, why are they getting penalized for it? And why weren't they made aware of this earlier? So it comes down to, people knowing what they're, doing. And clearly the Big Ten is doing their same old BS that they usually do. And saying like, well, no, that's unfair. You can't have that. There's a rule under there that says you can't do that. And, you got to figure that out. And it seems like Lincoln Riley is, he said, you guys have to pay attention. I'm glad none of you all put it on Twitter. So, I mean, there's that as well. I thought it was kind of funny. To answer your question, though, Voldy, I would say yes, just because, if it's in the rule book and everything, they should, but why weren't they caught earlier? That's my question. So I think it's absurd that the NCAA let this happen for a couple weeks, and they, but I'd say, yeah, if it's in the rule book, they should have been penalized. That's kind of the end of it. But, it is what it is. It's a weird deal. Voldy, what do you think?
For sure. I mean, I don't really see, It was submitted to both head coach. I mean, USC did submit the information to, of course, the likes of Northwestern. The coaching staff was aware. Now, not fully paying attention, that's on them. I don't see a huge problem with it. Of course, the unfair tactics thing, of course, there's a rule for everything and just trying to eliminate all fun from the game. Of course, we've seen in other cases where a fake punt has happened with a different player, throwing a pass as well. I remember in one bowl game or something like that, there was a third string quarterback who threw a pass who was wearing like number 18 when the punter was number 19 or something like that. So close but different. The uniform's a little different, kind of dressed similarly with the punter and the quarterback as well. But it was put out there that it even quoted as saying that Lincoln Riley, head coach for USC, did say that he did change his number several weeks ago and joked with reporters following the game that he was glad that nobody put it out there on social media that Heward was wearing number 80 and not number 7 anymore, along with the punter, them sharing the number as well. I don't see a problem with it. I don't think they should have been penalized. If it wasn't called on the field, then they got away with one, and maybe they won't do it again. Maybe they will, or maybe they'll just have to come up with something different. I think it's absurd. I don't think USC should have been penalized for it.
Well, I think a lot of it's just unclear at this point. If they had submitted it, what's the big deal? But, classic NCAA. They just don't, They are who they are. All right, let's get to it. Voldy, last one.
Well, the ever-going saga that is Hall of Shame inductee Antoniobrown, Clown Tonio, will appear in court, and it was set on a bond of $25,000, placed him on house arrest with GPS ankle monitoring while facing an attempted murder charge in Florida. The 37-year-old ex-NFL star did plead not guilty to a second-degree attempted murder charge stemming from a shooting incident at an amateur boxing match back in May. The charge does carry a potential 15-year prison sentence and up to a $10,000 fine if he is convicted. Now, both Brown's attorney and the prosecutor raised doubts during Wednesday's hearing how the alleged victim was injured as well. Of course, this coming from over the weekend that Brown was extradited from Dubai, as where he was hanging out, I guess, in hopes to maybe fight the charges, or at least not see those charges come through, but did return to the U.S. and to Florida, when now being placed under house arrest while those are being set with that $500,000 bond. Now, with all that stemming from the ongoing saga ever since he stepped off the field winning a Super Bowl, and then the following year where he stripped all the way down to his pants and then just pieced out in the middle of a play in the game against the Jets while he was playing with Tampa Bay. Is it absurd or approved? With the 15-year sentence looming over his head, will Clown Tonio get the full extent of the law and a 15-year prison sentence for him?
Like we said, this documentary is going to be quite interesting with Clown Tonio.
Wild.
I don't know how many times we have to say this in regards to him. I know that probably, or his time in the NFL was, I think everything changed after that big concussion he had. And granted, he has done, quite the unthinkable with, leaving a game mid, during a game, crazy in itself, and, off the cuff stuff, saying just ridiculous things, being absolutely horrible to women, not paying child support. I mean, this guy has completely derailed his life. It's sad to see, nonetheless, but you know what? It doesn't excuse him for being an idiot. And the people who he's hanging out with, the people that have called him out, and especially when he own a CFL team or something like that, or a UFL team? I can't remember. But, yeah.
Arena League, I think it was, in upstate New York, I think.
And he absolutely didn't do jack with that, and obviously was kicked out. Has anyone even reached out to give him a come to Jesus moment with this man? He is out of control. And I think with him, with this whole situation with this guy that, with attempted murder and whatnot, honestly, I think he should be, putting up that many years in prison, because he has self-destructed so bad that it's gotten to the point where it's like, when is he going to get it? I don't think he's ever going to get it. He won't. And it's sad to see, because, he needs help. The guy needs help. And no one has, I think he's burned every bridge. He burned that bridge with your guy, Tom Brady, who's going to be in Minnesota, by the way, Voldy. I don't know if you heard, but he is going to be at the Mall of America.
Oh, I've seen plenty.
Oh, you saw it? Okay, you did see that. Good. He will be.
Oh yeah, he's opening up the card vault. Yeah, for sure.
Card vault, yes, sir. So he doesn't have a whole lot of friends left. Quite frankly, I think we might have to do the Hall of Shame. We should induct him to the Hall of Shame here. Or wait, didn't we already? We did do it. We didn't do it. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure we did do it. It's like one of their. I don't know anymore. Okay. We've done a lot of people.
We've done a lot of people.
Right. I don't know.
Oh, we'll take a look.
There's a lot of people.
A lot of people. So to.
Yeah, just probably write them down or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we probably should. I think they'll be able to shave it down to maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7. Honestly, I think he should serve the full 15-year sentence. He can't be trusted. He can't be trusted. And I think he deserves to serve that sentence for all that he's done, especially on the socials, even before that in this whole situation right now. So I think he'll get out of it. So I think he'll get out of the 15-year. He'll probably serve 6 or 7. It'd be a joke if it was only like 1 or 2, but he needs time to think about what he's done. That's for sure. So yeah, I think it's absurd. I think he'll serve something. Yeah. So Voldy, what do you got?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely don't know if the full 15 is going to be assessed to him. I think just based off the stories and the, of course, the the recorded videos that have happened at this amateur boxing fight, and of course, he said injuries that have taken place. I don't know if he'll be facing the full 15 years, but could very well do some serious jail time for sure. 5, 6, 7 years, maybe he'll get off in like 2 or 3 with good behavior, or maybe he'll be serving it, in a house arrest or some sort of way whatsoever. I think just the way that his career has kind of gone downhill and the craziness that has ensued since that hellacious hit that he took from Vontez Perfect, which actually cost me some money too, because the Bengals were going to win that game against Pittsburgh in that wild card matchup. That's neither here nor there. Things have gone downhill in many different directions for him, whether it be of his own fault or extenuating circumstances. Still not a good look for him, and a guy that was definitely on his trajectory for sure to the Hall of Fame, and definitely a Hall of Shame member, definitely for sure. Will he get the full 15 years? I don't see it happening, but with him, his luck is not very good, so I would not be surprised if he does, but I think he'll get at least 5 years minimum, I think, for sure, based off of what has happened, since things have progressed, I should say, not even progressed, since he left the football field in such a glamorous way. That's definitely one way of putting it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he ain't a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it right now. I don't think he's even touching that. So, Clowntonio, you're something else. Something else. All right, that'll do it for ARA this time around. Great job, Voldy, as always. Let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts. Voldy's got a whole lot of Shield shoutouts tonight, so I say we get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shout out tonight?
Well, we do have to go to Major League Baseball, and of course, the Minnesota Twins have brought in a few postseason awards, including center fielder Byron Buxton winning his very first Silver Slugger in his career, even with the up and down season that the Twins had, more down than up, still able to find a way to bring in some awards. Of course, a Silver Slugger for Byron Buxton. Former Minnesota Twins first baseman, then got traded to Toronto. Ty France was awarded a Rawlings Gold Glove for his defensive work in the field this season. So Ty France is a Gold Glove winner, even though he didn't finish the season with the Twins. And sadly, a sad day in the world of currency and, of course, the U.S. After 232 years, the U.S. Mint finally stopped printing pennies. That's right. Believe it or not, it actually costs, I believe I saw $3.48 to print pennies, believe it or not. So the inflation way too high. The last roll of pennies off the mint. So no more pennies will be printed ever again. So the U.S. Mint is done printing those. So definitely start hoarding those pennies. And you know what? They'll probably be worth some money in the very near future. More than just those 1 cent for sure. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
All I got to say is R.I.P. pennies. R.I.P. pennies. I still got a bunch. I definitely do. So maybe I need to hold on to those bad boys. 232 years, Voldy. That's impressive. Congrats to Ty France. Unfortunately, not on the Twins anymore. And Buxton, literally the only positive thing that has happened with the Twins this past year. That was the only thing, is Buxton played really well. So congrats to those guys. Great job with Shield shoutouts this week, Voldy, as always. And guys,
thanks, sir.
Pick them. Get it done. Get those picks in as soon as possible. You know the deal. You gotta get it in for the bundle and whatnot. So make sure that you do that, and we'll kind of go from there. And if you guys, Tyler Hermann won this thing. If you're like, you know what, we want to help out the fellas, I want one of those. Get it done. We can get it to you. We got the quarter zips. We got the sweatpants. I'm wearing the sweatpants right now. It's very comfy. You got the winter caps, what I wore this past weekend. Really chilly out. All of your winter needs, we have it, and Voldy's got the OG camo hat as well as our hunting hats that have been promoted. I know that it's prime hunting season right now, so make sure you get those as well. And we got tumblers, we've got just a whole slew of stuff for all of your winter needs as well. So make sure you check it out. We'll get them to you. Thank you, International Fleet Graphic. For the stickers as well. We got stickers to give out. And shout out to our guy, W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. He's got new stuff coming out on the daily. Shout out to our guys at the Brotherly Ballers Podcast, Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. And shout out to TLS Performance, our guy Troy Stoudemire Jr., doing some awesome things as well. He's ripped out of his mind as well. Him and Rattel, I think, should maybe have a lift off at some point. I don't know. I mean, it very well could happen. You never know. The Popcorn Bucket List. Nick Dahlhoff and Rhino Meyerberg as well. Omni Entertainment. They've got some new stuff out as well. All the info on the latest movies, too. So make sure you check out our guys at the Popcorn Bucket List there on the YouTubes. So, that'll do it for episode 260. Yes, Skol Vikes. I'm hoping
Yes, sir.
we come back next week with a positive mindset after a Viking win. I really hope so because honestly, this negativity this past week has been, it's been so toxic. It's been so disgusting. I hate it.
I hate it.
So I want some positivity come Sunday, hopefully. So Skol Vikes, go Wild, go Wolves. We'll keep you up to date on our socials. So with that being said, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.